Let's analyze the stock, Palantir, take a look at the chart, examine its volatility, and delve into the options chain. We'll also look at the volatility smile, discuss a strategy, compare it with historical volatility, explore some interesting strategies, and analyze the 3D volatility. I'll provide as much detail as possible, but first let's go back to the stocks. What does Palantir do? Palantir Technologies engages in the business of building and deploying software platforms that serve as the central operating systems for its customers. It operates under the commercial and government segments. The commercial segment focuses on customers working in non-government industries. The government segment is involved in providing services to customers that are the United States government and non-United States government agencies. The company was founded by Alexander Seidman Karp, Peter Andreas Thiel, Stephen Cohen, and Nathan Dale Giddings in 2003 and is headquartered in Denver. First, let's look at the fundamental indicators. Palantir is a profitable company. It has a very serious compound annual growth rate, showing gains of 16%, 23%, and even 41% in some years. Additionally, it only recently started making a net profit in 2023. Before that, it was unprofitable. At the moment, the market capitalization of the stock is $53 billion, with a net profit of only $200 million. Of course, the company is significantly overbought and overvalued by all metrics. Also, I want to mention that the company is involved in military activities which may not be acceptable to everyone. Some consider this stock unethical, so I'll remind everyone of this aspect for clarity. Let's take a look at the volatility of this company and what's happening on the chain. Right from the start, the volatility is quite high, around 60%. The nearest strike is at 66%, undoubtedly due to the report, as volatility always increases before a report. This is normal for all companies, there's nothing surprising here. These pieces of information will help us in forming a sound strategy. Let's take a look at the volatility smile to see what's happening. The nearest term volatility is evenly directed towards both calls and puts, which indicates a good and stable situation. However, if we look at the longer term volatility, we see that the volatility increases towards puts, indicating a downside bias. Volatility towards calls remains stable, indicating a balanced view. Let's also examine the historical and implied volatility, that is, the volatility at the moment. We observe that historical volatility is higher than implied volatility, especially at the near end of the curve. This information will also aid us in strategy formulation because sooner or later volatility tends to return to its historical values, suggesting an expectation of increased volatility. Now, let's take a look at the trading volume on the options. We can see a sharp concentration of volume everywhere, indicating very active trading. This stock is highly dependent on options market activity. Let's also see which options are expiring this week. They are marked in green. However, not many options are expiring this week, indicating good stabilization in this regard. Now let's examine the 3D volatility, which is very interesting here. Not everyone shows this, but I always make sure to. Professionals will immediately understand what's going on here. Let's see what strategy we can develop for this stock. I've already built a solid strategy for stocks. But again, disclaimer, under no circumstances should you replicate my trades. You will definitely lose money if you follow this strategy because it requires management. This is purely for informational purposes. So we see that no matter where the stock goes, we make money. If it remains bullish, as we see, we'll also have stable profits. But we'll lose money if the stock sharply moves either up or down. This strategy needs to be managed. Simply opening the strategy and waiting won't work. Any option strategy requires management. You need to buy options at the right time, sell options, hedge purchased options, buy underlying assets, buy according to the necessary delta, use delta-neutral hedging. In general, it requires quite complex management. If you want me to help you, be sure to email me. I'll help you develop and formulate a strategy. Let's get back to the stocks. Considering what's been happening with Palantir lately, it has grown very significantly by 70%. And if we look at it from the minimum values, it has grown by about 270%. This is a very serious growth. Well, again, I remind you that the company is currently valued at $50 billion. For a company that earns only $200 million, this is very, very little. The company is currently expensive. I wouldn't buy it at the moment. But I don't have this company in my portfolio because there is a possibility of its decline. We can see some upward movements, but based on the volatility of stocks, I could assume that a correction may follow. But again, I remind you of my philosophy. I can't predict stock movements. I have no idea where it will go. My logic and my strategy consist of managing positions properly. I've already shown you how to do it right. If you learn how to manage your portfolio properly, it won't matter whether it goes up or down. I want you to understand this. If you understand how professionals work, you'll forget about all the reviews and analyses. You'll just make money. But you need to have a good understanding of mathematical analysis, probability theory, but again, you need to learn everything. That's what I'm calling you to do. Since the company has grown significantly and is very expensive, the risk-to-reward ratio is not in investors' favor at the moment. If you're considering it for the long term for 10 to 20 years, then it's a different story. It doesn't matter whether you buy at $24 or $20 or believe the stock will be worth $100. But in the short term, again, the risk-to-reward ratio is not in the investor's favor. I advise you to watch this video. Here I talked about the 5 most promising stocks with great profit potential. Good luck to everyone.